have a lesson and discussion on this work. Follow us for free and just pick up all the tips from the video for free. But if you're interested, I do have a sheet music edition of Caprice number 1 to 4, and there's a link for that in the description. This is a very exciting little piece, and lots of opportunity for displays of extroverted nature, but also lots of musicality and just a high melody based playing. I think part of the challenge of this piece is kind of not coming off as like a caffeinated squirrel. It's a little bit erratic with all these offbeats and these high accented notes. And it's also quite a thick texture as well. So you're trying to combine the allegro and the capricious nature of the piece with this kind of thick playing as well. And all these offbeats. And it can come off as a little bit erratic, but you still want to smooth it out a little bit and also balance it so that that melody does come out and you're not just crashing about. But that's definitely the thing that I found difficult, is just like keeping that 3-note texture a little bit like not too out of control, because you want to be extroverted, but you also don't want to like bang it out a lot. And I find that a little bit challenging in this piece. So it's something that I would want to work on a little bit more with the work, but something that you can be careful about when you first start the piece. And I think when you do first start the piece, although you can play the melody on its own in this piece, you want to just like loop that opening quite a bit and get used to, getting that A finger to be musical and not too crashing with the accompaniment. And it is challenging, but nevertheless, just like spending lots of time just kind of brushing this accompaniment. And just trying to work out that balance of the A finger coming out a little bit more. What I find a little bit useful is just to think of a deeper follow through with that finger. If you just kind of consciously do a deeper follow through with that particular finger and try not to think about these fingers very much at all, just let them be as light as possible, then you can hopefully get that top melody to pop out of the texture a little bit. I think there's a number of other like little tiny things in the piece to discuss, but I think we can just do that during a walkthrough of the work. But yeah, just like lots of work on musical balance in this one. And then just some slow metronome work to make sure that the most difficult sections of the piece aren't too challenging and you have them in check with the rest of the work. So we'll go a little bit slower. Another weird thing for this piece is just like when you fit in the bass note, it's a little bit like feels strange when you first learn it. The bass note. I switch to 1-3 here, pivot into a bar, out. Might have played a wrong note there. That's the one. That's definitely the two measures that will slow you down a little bit if you're not too zippy with those lines. In the right hand, I play lots of sweeping thumb, like a light sweeping thumb. Thumb, thumb. Same thing there, thumb, thumb. you could play this. You could play that. That would be easier than doing this stretch. But the reason I do the stretch is that I'm in 7th position and then I'm ready to grab that bass note. So it kind of just keeps my hand centered in 7th position. And ready for that, as opposed to, and then kind of, or like having to like go from this hand shape and then reach out my first finger. It just feels a little bit awkward at tempo. I found it easier to just do that stretch with the stability in 7th position, so you get that one note, and then you're already there for that. That's just my personal preference. You could experiment and see which one works better for you. This is the diminished 7th chord, and just keep in mind that the diminished 7th chord, if you're having trouble with the reading, like, it's just a shape that you move down. So the shape is the same for each chord, right? So let me just practice that figure again. And then it says poco lento, so just like, it's like a little slow section for contrast. And then a tempo. That last little figure there, I know it means you have to let go of that top A. Just works out really nicely for that lower melodic line. Really exciting piece, a lot to work on. And like I said, for me, the challenge is definitely keeping that balance nice and not crashing out that accompaniment when you're trying to bring the tempo up to like an allegro tempo or an exciting tempo. Then that musical balance gets much harder. If we were going really slowly, you know, it'd be a lot easier to highlight that upper note. Once you pick up the tempo, it gets more and more challenging to do that. So certainly, and then with all the offbeat stuff, to not sound like an over-caffeinated person or squirrel, like I said, when you're playing the piece, to still make it, it's quite musical, it's quite melodic. You don't want to ignore that aspect of it. And then just, you can't practice the lento part with the metronome, but like practice it with the metronome just to even it out and make sure that all the sections are at the same, that you can play them at the same tempo. But then definitely turn it off, and you can use a little bit of rubato here and there, and when you feel like there needs to be more push, you can let it push a little bit more, and you can have a lot more fun with the piece. But certainly some careful preparation is needed for this one.